And you'd be surprised how powerful it would change things.
Or I say, the first thing I'm thinking, let me just stop.
We've been drilled, especially as Black women, that we independent. We can't rely on nobody. If we don't do it, it's not gonna get done. It's not gonna get done to our expectations. You can't get mad that people don't know that's what it is that you are desiring.
I see your hurt, and your hurt is coming out on me in a way that is hurting me. But I know that you're hurt. I'm not going to hurt you back in return.
Better people for ourselves if we learn how to manage.
And of course, I think it was created and perpetuated for not good. I'm curious. I don't want to.
Welcome to the Black and Green podcast. It's your go-to place to find the latest high-quality, all-natural products created by Black artisans. Hosted by yours truly, Dr. Kristian H., the founder of Black and Green. We'll discuss all things health, wellness, self-care, and of course, self-love. This podcast features a refreshing lineup of guests, from entrepreneurs and artisans to holistic lifestylists and clean beauty experts, and a plethora of other innovators within the wellness industry. Join me as we learn from the best of the best.
The best of the best. And I'm so excited today that I pulled my massage therapist in to talk to you all. I'm going to let her pronounce her name because I don't want to pronounce it wrong. You would think after 5 years I would have it down pat. I don't trust myself.
It's Khetnu Nefer.
Okay, awesome. Khetnu, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and just welcome us into your world?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity, Kristian. My name is Khetnu Nefer. I am originally from Johns Island, South Carolina, which is outside of Charleston, South Carolina. So that makes me an unapologetic Gullah Geechee goddess. And I have been in Washington, D.C. since 2016. I like to say that I'm the Chief Enthusiasm Officer of A Soulful Touch Wellness, which is my holistic health and wellness company that is geared towards women's health. It's my goal to provide women affordable and practical holistic health solutions. And that includes massage therapy as how we met, but I'm also a herbalist, a birth doula. I am a comedic yoga instructor. I'm also a certified Kukua African dance instructor. Oh. I am, a lot of things. I'm certified in a lot of things, but more so a lot holistic health things. And most people know me as a massage therapist. And I guess my latest claim to fame is I am the founder and organizer of the Gullah Geechee Herbal Gathering, which is a herbal conference for Black and Indigenous herbalists and community that takes place on my family's land in the Gullah Geechee Nation on Johns Island. And it's happening this year in October, which will be our 5th year as a conference.
Oh gosh, that is so amazing. So is the conference, are you envisioning it being for people who live there and kind of a way to bring community? Or are you inviting people who aren't from the island who have never been there to experience it?
Both. It's a great way to preserve Gullah Geechee culture, especially the herbal culture, but it's also a way for those Black and Indigenous holistic health practitioners, herbalists, spiritualists, to come together and have a safe space where they can convene, where they don't have to code switch, where they could come in and learn from people who look like them, as well as get healing and find resources, because we have vendors as well. So we have people selling their herbal products and herbal wear and traditional clothing, and we have food vendors. So it's a great way for people from around the world to come. And we have had people come from as far as Seattle, Washington, to come to the conference. So last year we had about 300 people.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful opportunity.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Gullah Geechee culture and just kind of tell me more.
Yeah. So the Gullah Geechee people are direct descendants of those enslaved Africans that were brought to Turtle Island, America, whatever we want to call it. But Charleston was one of the first slave ports in America. And so they say that up to 80% of those enslaved that came to America came through Charleston first. And so those individuals who that stayed in Charleston, that were on plantations within the area, you know, once the Emancipation Proclamation and all of that happened, and those who emancipated themselves stayed in the area, and they retained a lot of their West African traditions and rituals and things like that. So, you know, unknowing to us, because we weren't taught about what Gullah Geechee is or in schools, or that, you know, we were retaining West African traditions. So we live compound style. Our language is a sort of pidgin language that is a amalgamation of English, Creole, French. So from those areas that those people came from. So we have a lot of similarities in that way. And the Gullah Geechee Nation is a government recognized entity, and it spans from Jacksonville, North Carolina, all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida, and 100 miles in off of the coast. So that is considered the Gullah Geechee Nation. And we have an installed leader, Queen Quet, who was installed by a council of elders, who has been tirelessly working for, you know, Gullah Geechee rights and environmental issues that have been affecting those Gullah Geechee people, gentrification, all those things. So that's basically who we are in a nutshell.
There's something you said that stood out to me, is that the Gullah Geechee was able to hold on to a piece of their culture. I'm curious why. Why do you think they were able to do that and other places weren't? Because we all came from slaves. How were they able to hold on to something that was taken away from everyone else?
Well, part of it is like where I'm from, Johns Island, it's an actual coastal sea island. And so there's two bridges that, you know, span the island, but they didn't always exist. So when they brought these people to these islands, they were segregated from, quote unquote, the mainland. So in order to survive in these conditions, they had to utilize the information that they already, you know, had. And so they utilized that. And that was part of the reasons why they were brought to Americas, because the first cowboys were brought to Charleston, to an island called James Island. They were from Angola, and they were known for their excellent ability to deal with cows and herding cows and all of that. So, you know, it was just more so they maintained their lifestyle, so to speak. And so when you look at the Great Migration, because that's the other downside to the Gullah Geechee, is that a lot of people didn't identify with being Gullah Geechee because they would say that they were ignorant and they didn't speak correctly and things like that. So people didn't identify as being Gullah Geechee. And they may have retained little small things when they moved to New York and Chicago and even as far west as California, but it wasn't as prevalent as it was for those who remained in those areas that's in the Gullah Geechee Nation now.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Thank you. Because I wasn't taught this in school. So I don't know.
We weren't either, you know, and so a lot of it I kind of learned on my own, and through, you know, working with Queen and other Gullah Geechee elders and things like that. And even talking to my family members, you know, learning about the lifestyle, because it wasn't something that there was never a chapter in any history book or anything like that we had. But growing up Gullah Geechee, you know, that's just, it was a lifestyle thing. It wasn't nobody's pointing it out and saying, this is what makes you different from another African American. But when you travel and leave, you know, the Gullah Geechee Nation, and you see the differentiation, you're like, oh, wow, y'all don't do that. Y'all do this. Y'all don't do that. But when you go to the Caribbean or to Africa, it's like, they're like, how you know how to do that? And it's just like, well, that's how I grew up. So, you know, it's really interesting how that divide has been created and perpetuated and still exists to this day.
And of course, I think it was created and perpetuated for not good. I'm curious. I don't want to push my view, but I'm curious, why do you think that divide was created and perpetuated and falsely?
I mean, it's so apparent, because it's that divide and conquer mentality. And if you stay ignorant of your true power, you won't be able to utilize it. And so it's easy to subjugate people who aren't tapped into all the information that is inherent within them, but also readily available in their communities. So it's easy to oppress you because you're not tapping into your power.
Tell me about the compound living.
Compound living, and if most people see it as like I say, if you haven't been to West Africa, is different, but technically it's literally like families living on one parcel of land. So if you were to go to where my majority of my family lives on one road, okay, and if you were to go visit, let's say my aunt Penny, her middle daughter lives behind her, her younger daughter lives in front of her, my grandaunt lives to the left of her youngest daughter. So you have 4 houses on one parcel of land. And we're talking a couple acres. They're not right on top of each other, but, that's how it is. And in Africa, you would see that. In West Africa, more specifically, you would see the family living in one central area. And it may be several huts, several different houses or whatever. And they share either a communal kitchen, a communal courtyard kind of deal, and that's where they congregate and build as family. And my family still does that. Most of my family functions are held in somebody's yard, but within that compound. And so there's several compounds along that road where my family lives. So it's just,
love that.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Like growing up, you find it a little intrusive because if you are out in the yard doing something you don't have no call doing, somebody could just look out their window and say, "Hey, why are you doing that?" That type of thing, and you're feeling like, "Oh my God, my aunt is so nosy." But it's also beneficial because, say you need to run to the store real quick and you need somebody to watch your baby, you don't have to call a babysitter in. You go and knock on, your family member's door and say, "Hey, watch the baby for me real quick. I need to go do something." Or, at one point in time, my family used to share gardens or whatever, and that was a communal thing as well. So we worked the land together and all of that. So
it's just speaking to my soul.
Yeah.
All of my friends who know me say I'm trying to make everyone move in my community and we all live next door. So I think that compound urge is in me. I'm trying to create it and develop it because it's more logical. It just makes more sense for communities and families to live in the same community. I think that there's a lot of negatives of raising up. You grow up. I want to leave home. I want to go to college. I'm going to leave my circle. I'm going to leave my family. I'm going to leave my friends for me to go get a job. I think the way capitalism has created and structured our desires and wants to move in that way has pulled us away from our family, pulled us away from our bases, pulled us away from our support systems in buying into this ideology of the way that you're supposed to go live.
Yeah. And it's an ego thing too, because we feel like, they're not striving to have and be all the things that I want to be. And then you move away and, we see, unfortunately, a lot of people are unaliving themselves because they feel alone and depressed and disconnected when they felt like they needed to leave their nest, their home space, in order to achieve the things that they needed to achieve. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to achieve the things like that, but not having that family essence and that communal support, it really is to our detriment. And when we look at other communities, that's what they do. They don't kick their kids out at 18. Some of those cultures, they're there. Even when they get married, they bring their family in and you save until you can afford your own space. But they tend to move within a mile or a couple miles of each other because they value that support system. And it's something that I really would like to see more around, in our communities. And I'm one of those ones who strayed away from home, but I go home all the time. So it's just one of those things. But, I value having that ability to do so as well. So,
Absolutely. Well, we are going to pause for a meditation.
Okay.
We'll see. Right after that, the siren class.
Sorry, I live in DC proper.
So whether you're listening to this podcast as you're walking down the street or in your car, in your home, or in your bed, just want you to find a comfortable position where you can relax and take focus on what's happening right now. And as we do this, I want you to focus on your breath, focusing on the fact that your answers are always in your breath. Feeling your breath, not judging it, but experiencing what it feels like. If you're able to, you can close your eyes. If not, just keep your focus. Notice where your breath is racing through. Where are you trying to meet so many deadlines in life? Notice where your breath is moving in the same cycle or feeling stuck. Where are you in destructive cycles in life? Where are you not changing the script, but only changing the characters in the play? Just take a moment and notice what your breath feels like and how it relates to your life. Deep breath in. And as you exhale, let everything go that's not serving you. Reminding yourself that you can keep anything that you want to keep. You can let go of anything you want to let go of. But honoring your truth in this breath. As you're breathing in, you're creating. As you're breathing out, you're creating space for what it is that you desire. Little by little, letting go of what's not serving you. And honoring the spaces that ask you to hold on at this moment, taking your time and being present. Continuing this breath until you feel like you've let go of everything that's standing in the way of creating what you desire. And as you feel like you've let everything go, bring the awareness back into your body. Back into the space of wholeness. Come back into the space of truth. And move forward, knowing that you're whole always, and that you are the one that you've been looking for.
Oh. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Oh, I love just to stop and take a minute sometimes. And guided meditations tend to be more my path because my thoughts can take over my meditation. So let them guide me to keep my thoughts in line.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
So tell me about your self-care routine.
My self-care routine. When I wake up in the morning, I say a prayer of gratitude before I get up out of bed. Then I get up and do, my little hygiene ritual, and then I hit the gym for about an hour 15 minutes. And I'm getting better about hydration. I developed a very bad habit as a massage therapist of not drinking a lot of water so that I wouldn't have to use the bathroom during my client's session. But I'm rehydrating myself and retraining my body to receive hydration in that way. I'm a supplement person, but not overly into supplements, but I do take a couple of supplements. What else? Dancing, reading books. I'm a huge audiobook person, so it helps me in the gym. It motivates me when I'm on the treadmill, and even when long journeys like the drive home to South Carolina, or just my business is mobile. So as I'm going to a client, I call it my mobile university. So I like all types of books, so I don't discriminate. But walks, hanging out with friends, journaling, meditation, sound therapy. It kind of spans the gamut. I'm one of them crunchy Afro bohemian Black girls.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And creating a reality with all those things. As at different times, you probably need different things.
Yeah. It's not an everyday thing that I do all those things, but I love having what I like to call a holistic health tool chest, and that's what I teach my clients as well. Ooh, so that you have those tools to pull from, just like you have a regular toolbox for your car and your house, you should have one for yourself as well.
I love that.
So
holistic
that's
health
what I do.
Toolkit. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. If you could think of one piece of advice or one thing that people just don't know, like, hey, this is something that's simple, something that's easy for people to do, to incorporate it as healing, what is that something that pops out to you? It's something that you can share with people who are trying to live holistically or trying to live as healthy as possible. Any kind of nuggets that you've picked up along the way that you could share with us?
Yeah, the biggest one is breathing, like focusing on the breath, and not just in quote unquote meditation, but even before you become reactionary to a situation. Because I feel like a lot of times we give power to a situation without tapping into our inner power. And the breath is the most powerful thing besides your heartbeat that you have. You can live days without water, but you can't live too long without air. So focusing on the breath and utilizing the breath to, just still yourself. Like, I love that meditation moment, just taking the time to take a few breaths, deep breaths. It doesn't have to be anything labor intensive. You don't have to sit in, cross-legged and doing a mudra. You could just literally sit at the light and take a couple breaths before you pull off, or like I do in the morning. The first thing is take a few deep breaths before, you start your day, just to give thanks and connect into being present at this moment because somebody wasn't afforded the same opportunity. So tapping into the breath and utilizing the breath throughout your day, like I said, it doesn't have to be long or just one, even if you start with one. Because, I think people get intimidated when they think of rituals and practices and thinking like, oh, I don't have time, or it's going to take too long, or it's going to take all these steps. And you could start by just doing one and then working your way up and say, okay, this week at 2:00, I'm going to take a deep breath for 7 days. And then next week you could say, next week at 2:00, I'm going to take 2 breaths, and then work your way up to a 30-minute or hour practice. So, it doesn't have to be a task. It's just something that you can literally insert into your life, and you'd be surprised how powerful it would change things. Not only just your mental space, your spiritual space, but also your physical body as well.
I think you said something really valuable, to not be reactionary. I know that's a hard thing for me. Oh, goodness gracious. I jump quick and trying to react to the thing in the moment. So not being reactionary. You're right. The breathing can just stop before I say the first thing I'm thinking. Let me just stop
Mm-hmm.
and assess how important
Mm-hmm.
is it. What's
Right.
happening? Like, what needs to happen here? Do I need to hop back and say something? Just give yourself time to think through. Be
Yeah.
thoughtful in your communication.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what that mindfulness is, being mindful of yourself first, then assessing the situation.
Yes.
Because, like you say, it could be to the detriment of whatever it is, your relationship, that
Yep.
client,
Yep. Yep.
that interaction with your child,
Yep.
because they can take you there sometimes. But at the
That's
same time, allowing yourself that moment to use the tools you have within yourself to say, hey, can I be more mindful of what I'm saying or how I say it? Because it's not always what you say, it's how you say it sometimes too. So it's not saying not stand up for yourself, but it doesn't mean that you have to just be rude and crass off the rip because you were hurt in that moment, but not thinking from the perspective of, do I need to be hurtful back? Is that going to change the situation?
Yep.
Or
Yep.
taking that breath so that you can get that thought and say, you know what? It's not even worth a response. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yep. I know something that has helped me is thinking that hurt people hurt people. So whenever someone hurts you, likely they're also hurt.
Yeah.
And so they are coming from a hurt place. And so you hopping to respond and be negative and crass. Just take a deep breath. Like, I see you're hurt. And your hurt coming out on me in a way that is hurting me. But I know that you're hurt. I'm not going to hurt you back in return. You might not say all those words in the moment when it happens, but just stopping, take a deep breath, and just walking away.
Yeah.
How do you deal with disappointment?
That's a lifelong learning challenge. But as of late, what has helped me deal with disappointment better is managing my expectations, because I feel like that's where disappointment comes from, is that situation or that person or that thing didn't meet your expectations, so you're disappointed. And sometimes I feel that we have lofty expectations and we don't articulate those lofty expectations. So we get disappointed, but that person didn't even know that that was a criteria of what you were expecting from them. So technically they didn't disappoint you. You disappointed yourself because you didn't articulate that need, that desire, or that want effectively or at all. So, and that has been more times than not, when I think back of the times where I've been just wholeheartedly disappointed, I didn't articulate my expectations. And so, and that person wasn't even aware that that was something that I was gauging our encounters on. So they were like, oh, wow, so, that's one of the biggest ways that I've learned to manage disappointment. That doesn't mean that I don't get disappointed at all, because I do. But definitely, I'm very human. But it's just one of those things that I feel that it could help us be better people for ourselves if we learn how to manage our expectations, so that we can limit the number of disappointments that we encounter.
Yes. That reminds me of a blog I just posted yesterday that I wrote. That the title was "Ask for What You Want." And the reason why I wrote that piece is something my husband has helped me notice, is that I kept wanting him to behave in a certain type of way, do a certain type of thing when I wasn't communicating it. And so I can't get frustrated when it doesn't happen. He's like, I didn't know.
Right. Like, how?
Like what? And so he did a good job. He said, I think because you enjoy when I accidentally do what you need, that you are unconsciously not telling me, hoping I accidentally
remember that this is the
So I'm setting myself up. Like, I'm not going to tell you, but you don't know. And now you don't know. I'm like, Why didn't you know I need this? He's like, because you didn't tell me you needed it. I was like, oh man, good point.
Yeah.
but I started unpacking. Well, why can I not ask for what I want? And the two things I came up with, I would love to hear your thoughts about this. The one I came up with is asking for something means I'm asking for them to do something, which is weak. There's weakness in that. There's a weakness in telling someone else what you need and telling them that you want. That means that you can't do it by yourself. That means you're not an independent woman. So I think all that was wrapped up in there for me, that I can't ask for what I want. I got me. I got mine. INDEP. That's like, I think that's what came to my head. So I think that was a big piece of it, of me not wanting to ask. And then the second part of it was hearing no. It's easier for me to deal with if you just didn't accidentally do it. I was like, well, I didn't ask, you didn't know. Okay, cool. That's easier for me to deal with versus I told you what I wanted and you just said no, you didn't do it. Woo.
Yeah, well, that's part of womanhood and Black womanhood, I could say definitely. And it still goes back to that managing expectation piece. And I have been in that space too, especially in my romantic relationships and my current romantic relationship. And it's like, how could I have this measuring stick? First of all, you didn't even know you were being measured. And then you didn't meet the expectation of the measurement. And then I'm going to get an attitude because you didn't know that you wasn't meeting the. So it's just a big hamster wheel. Yep. And so learning that, but also I feel like we've been drilled, especially as Black women, that we independent, we can't rely on nobody. If we don't do it, it's not going to get done. It's not going to get done to our expectations, which are false truths. You know what I'm saying? And especially when you don't articulate the need or the desire or the expectation. So you can't get mad that people don't know that's what it is that you are desiring. Exactly. Now, once that is expressed and it doesn't happen, you are within your right, so to speak, but it's also room for a conversation to say, hey, this is really important to me. And I would like if you would make a concerted effort to meet me in this. Now, if they say that they can't do that, then it's turned back to you to say, is this a deal breaker for me? Or is this something that I know now that they can't do? So I need to manage my expectation and give them a reasonable expectation of what they could do in order to,
I love that. I love that. The idea of reasonable expectations. So disappointments often comes from expectations. Then making sure your expectations are reasonable.
And even inquiring, is this something that you are willing to do? Because that's another part too.
And asking, I learned the power of asking a question. Don't again the issue with assumptions. Oh, I think they're too busy. They won't be able to do it. Ask them. They might say they can, but you assume that they couldn't. Now you didn't get it done for yourself.
Right. And realizing that you're worthy enough to ask for help. Yes. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to overburden yourself when there's resources literally at your fingertip.
You know, but you got to be strong enough in yourself to ask for help. I can't help but think that is a sign of strength. When you are strong enough to ask for help, that means that your ego is not getting in the way.
Yeah. But it's a reasonable need. You know what I'm saying? I don't even feel like you have to be strong to ask for that. It's something that you need. Like if this is necessary for my survival, be it my mental, my physical, my spiritual, there shouldn't be any limitation for me to say, hey, this is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I desire. And, you know, and like I said, managing that expectation, even when you get the no, you know, nobody likes to be rejected or turned down or whatever, but you have to think about, was that a reasonable thing that I was asking them? And also, even if it wasn't, you know, it's like, do I really need that? You know what I'm saying? Or that type of thing. So you know, I feel like it's a challenge in life, and as long as you're going to live, you're going to learn different lessons. But
Yep.
if you're willing to learn them, because you don't
Yes.
always learn all the things, you just repeat them over and over again until you learn a lesson. But when
Mhm.
you have opened up your mind and your ego to say, "Hey, I want to change and transform how I'm currently living because it's not serving me," then moving forward, how can I change the things within
Yes.
myself that I desire from other people? Because
Yes.
that's the other thing about relationships is that, women tend to have this laundry list of things that they're looking for in a partner, and they don't embody those things. So it's like, how can you
Yep.
expect this
Yep.
person to
Be
rival all these
thoughtful and
things when
kind
you
when you
don't,
aren't thoughtful and kind.
and you're not even to yourself. So you don't even do these things for yourself. So how can
Yep.
you expect somebody else to do it for you?
I mean, people are mirrors. They reflect how you treat yourself. So you got to get your own stuff together before you can go look for anything else. You have to treat yourself kindly. You have to treat yourself amazingly, because you're going to attract people who treat you the same way.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. This has been a beautiful conversation, and I love to talk and I love to share. So this is a wonderful platform.
Thank you again.